We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to the DotCast from NineDots. NineDots is the online learning community for wedding photographers. You can become a member and find out about our annual conference, the NineDots Gathering, at nine-dots.co. Hello world, welcome back to the NineDots DotCast. Today it's me, Adam Johnson, and again I'm joined only by the legendary Rahul Khona.
Hey.
How's it going, Rahul?
All good, mate. How's it going with you?
All good. You know what? Are you going to switch back to Canon now they've announced the EOS R5?
No.
All right. See you next week on the podcast, everyone.
Yeah, see ya. No. I mean, I was looking at the specs and stuff like that the other day, and man, it looks like a really powerful camera. Like it's like a beast, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I think it's just got too much for me and for what I do.
Yeah, I mean, you and me, the background of this is, for obviously people don't know, is that you and me both shot Canon cameras for our entire careers until early 2018, and then you, I think, was later the same year when we both switched to Sony.
Yeah, to be fair, I properly switched at the beginning of Jan 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was shooting with the Sony A7 III all of December, but just personal stuff. And then I properly jumped ship, in beginning of Jan, just before the season started.
Yeah, so just under a year after me.
Yeah.
But before that, we both shot Canon for my first ever camera that I bought in 2007 was the Canon 400D, and then from that point on, obviously when I started doing it professionally and everything else, I always had Canon cameras until the Sony A7 III came along, and then it just felt like a no-brainer to switch at that point. But does this new camera from Canon in any way make you want to go back?
No, not really. Do you know what? The reason I switched is mainly because, even though the A7 III is more superior than the 5D Mark IV in my opinion for how I use the camera and stuff. I switched more for smaller kit, smaller lenses and stuff. And then when I played with the original, the EOS R, I was just like, this is still a big camera. It wasn't very different from. It was barely smaller than the 5D Mark IV, but it was still pretty big. And then the L lenses that you put on it, they were huge. So I was just like, I don't think I'd move back because of that. But if they shrunk it down in size to the size of an A7 III, then who knows?
But it is massive, isn't it? It's a big camera.
It's a big camera, and I think the one reason that people switch to mirrorless, but I know that one of the biggest reasons was literally for a smaller kit, because my kit bag now when I go to weddings is so tiny, it's ridiculous. And I love sometimes when I first was shooting the first few weddings with the Sonys, I was just like, man, have I forgotten stuff? Because this bag is just way too light. I just don't understand. Is everything even in this bag? I would get to the car and I'll check. No, before I leave the venue, I'll check. I'd get to the car and I'd still check before I drove away from the venue, because I'm like, this is honestly and I was just like, yep, everything's still in there. Brilliant. Let's go home.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture here though. The body of the camera is not that much bigger than the Sony A7 III that we use, just the body. But I think this new EOS R system, it comes with a whole new system of lenses, doesn't it? I know you can attach old Canon lenses to it as well.
Yeah, but you have to use native.
Yeah, but the new lenses for this system are massive, aren't they? I've seen a few of them are huge. So even though the body isn't I'm looking at this picture now, it's not significant. It's not huge compared to the A7 III Sony. But when you start combining it with the lenses and stuff, then it is back to being a big camera again. So that would put me off, because I switched for the same reason, really. Well, no, that's a lie. I switched at that point because I always liked Sony cameras anyway. I've talked about before, how I used to have a Sony RX1, and it's my favorite camera of all time. So I was kind of waiting for Sony to bring out a camera that could cope with weddings. And then at the time, it felt like the A7 III was the first. Well, obviously they had the A9 at that point, but that always felt a bit expensive to me. And the A7 III felt like the first Sony camera that could cope with weddings, but also I was just bored. I was still on the 5D Mark III. I know you were on 5D Mark IV, but I was 5D Mark III, and I was just bored of it because they brought out the 5D Mark IV, and I just didn't see enough reason to upgrade to that because it didn't feel like an upgrade. I know there was features you did like about the 5D Mark IV.
The focus alone was worth the upgrade.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Like the live view and the way you could shoot like that way was worth the upgrade. But I mean, yeah, I never thought. I remember talking to Sam Docker actually. I think at like the gathering, and he was just like, he goes, "You're never going to switch." He goes, "You're Canon through and through." And I'm like, "Yes, I am Canon through and through. I love it."
You were.
And it was literally a month later. They put a Sony A7 III in my hands and a 35mm lens, and I was just like, shot something at home and some sort of family gathering. And I was just like, oh my God, this camera, what is it doing? Like, you know, I was blown away. And then obviously I knew that you were using it like very capably at weddings, and that kind of like made me switch. You know, like
I know I'd worked on you for the best part of a year before you gave into the power of the guys at Sony.
Yeah. I mean, because like even when people switch systems, you know, sometimes it's just not cost effective either. You know, you're selling like what is potentially better kit, the 5D Mark IV, well, more expensive kit and then you know you're losing a lot of money, and then you're going to buy this new kit which is not as superior, but it's so you got to be financially in a good place, like or be able to sell it, like, you know, and that was another factor when I sold my kit, is the fact that I got decent money for my kit, so it made sense that I could switch, you know.
Yeah, and it definitely makes no financial sense whatsoever to flip flop back and forth all the time between systems, and that's good. I think that's what's going to happen now in the next few years, is as mirrorless becomes, I think, takes over from DSLRs as the main like camera system. There's going to be lots of new developments and lots of new cameras and from all the different manufacturers. But I think just like what all I was saying was I didn't switch because of like Sony hype. I switched because I felt like Sony brought out a camera that could cope with weddings, and I was bored of my 5D Mark IIIs, and I needed something to reinvigorate like the fun side of photography for me, and that camera definitely did that for me. I know it doesn't work. It doesn't work for everyone because it is like a little computer. Sometimes it feels more like a little computer than it does a camera.
I kind of know what you mean though, because like I feel like I've made some of my best photos this year because of what the cameras allow me to do, like with the tilt screen, with how good iFocus has been, and it being so small and discreet that people just ignore me as well. So ignore me. I'm not exactly wearing an invisibility cloak because I'm carrying a Sony A7 III, but you know, I've been able to get away in better situations and positions just to get better images and make better photos. So and it has brought out a bit of fun. It was kind of fun, like learning something new again, if that makes
that's
sense.
what I mean.
Figuring out how the heck my off-camera flash is going to work, and like why is this happening, and I don't understand what this button is. And then I remember like Andy Tyler showing me the preview button or something, like it will show me, you know. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. You know, like it was just nice to, I don't know, like, I mean, it's obviously good for the brain, you know, to learn something new. Like otherwise everything is just like muscle memory, to be fair, with Canon. So it was nice to break away from that. But saying that, I'm looking at the photo as well because you made me go into the Canon site and I'm like, it does look nice though, don't it? Like I do miss the red ring on the old the L lenses. I gotta say, every time I saw an L lens, I was like, oh yeah, this is the lens. I would never buy a normal Canon lens.
Mate, I remember the first time I ever bought an L lens. I just felt like the king of the world.
2470.
It was a 20. No, actually, I think I had the 70-200 before I had the 2470. And obviously, and then you remember it. I'd seen people using these long white lenses, and they just looked like professionals. And I was like, right, if I'm going to be a professional photographer, I need a long white lens with a red ring on the end.
Yeah. You know what? That 70-200, even though like so big, man, it did produce some good flipping portraits.
True.
I mean, like I did like I love using that lens, but then it was just like, mate, this lens is just too big, and I just sold it.
Using it now? Can you imagine using a lens like that now at weddings? I mean, people do. I'm not like I'm not trying to be judgmental about the lenses people use, but I personally can't imagine. That was the thing.
I haven't seen someone use a 70-200 lens at a wedding in ages, but for at least 2-3 years, I would say. Because I mean, obviously, like videographers do use them. But then I did a wedding like last year, and this videographer like team or whatever, they had 2 of them like for the speeches, like but they were so far away that I forgot that they were there. So I probably was like in and out of their shots all the time, and I know I was, because they got angry at me. But it was just like, like you'd forgotten that people could be that far away from what was happening, because we're like at the 85mm, 35mm like sort of length. So it was strange to see that camera back in that lens, should I say? But like when I was using it, it did like. But then I sold it for a 135, and that 135 was oh man, probably one of my favorite Canon lenses.
I did the same. Yeah, I did the same when I kind of switched. Yeah, I did. And I remember, I mean, that's again, we've gone way tangent, but
yeah, reminiscing.
I know, yeah. Oh, those were the days. But yeah, I did the same. That was in the phase when I was trying to switch generally over to primes, and I remember getting the 135 and I kept the 7200 in my bag, and just realized that it'd been in there for like 6 weddings and I'd never used it.
Yeah,
because I was just choosing the 135. But let's go back to the EOS R5, because I mean, I know it's almost ridiculous to talk about it, but because we're not really specs people, but just looking at the specs of this camera, like, I mean, I guess it's not really comparable in a way to the Sony A7 III. It's more of like, if you're going to compare cameras, you need to compare it to the A9, but it's 45 megapixels, which is, I mean, that's going to be huge files.
Yeah. Gonna need new memory cards.
Yeah, it is SD though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's SD.
Yeah, and obviously that's a huge thing. At least it's not going to be disked, because it is dual card slots. It says here. Just that, like, obviously you've said twice. You've told me no when I've said, would you switch back to Canon for this? But if you were still on Mark IV Canons, would you move sideways to this camera?
Possibly.
Yeah,
possibly. But do you know what it is? Yeah, it's. I would have said yes straight away if I was on the 5D Mark IV, if the lens mount was the same, and the lenses were the same. Like, I have to just change the bodies out. But I'm one of these people, like, I have to use the native lens. Like, I wouldn't use the old lenses on this camera. Like, so you'd have to buy whatever the new system is that Canon uses now. I have no idea what it's called or whatever, but does it make sense? Yeah, RF. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I'd have to buy like the new, and I think like I was seeing once, like the RF 50 is what, 50mm was like 2-3 grand or something.
I don't know. I mean, let me bring him up now. But there's a 35mm 1.8 that you can get for it. 500 quid.
Oh, that's not bad.
There is a 50mm, the 50mm 1.2, which is £2,300. This is UK price. I'm not talking grey import. This is buying in the UK market. The 85
from Wex.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. The 85mm 1.2 is 2,800. So yeah, it's a really expensive.
It's not even switching sideways, is it? Really, it's just buying a new system, full stop.
Yeah, and there's another 85mm 1.2, which I don't know what the difference is, but this one is 3,200.
What? Wow.
It's got a special DS coating. I mean, this is a thing. This is like, it's ridiculous you and me talking about specs, because we just don't know what we're talking about because we pay no attention.
I'm like, does it work? Does it look good?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, expensive and also massive. Like, these lenses are big, like huge lenses, but they're going to be incredible. Like, I do miss Canon lenses. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I do. There was something nice and beautiful about it. That Canon 35 1.4, that was my favorite lens, and that 85 1 too. I mean, it was rubbish at focusing, but boy, for portraits, if you could get it right and you could like focus in like with the sun and the flare and everything, it's beautiful. And obviously the 50 as well, 1.2 was shocking at focusing as well. But that circular flare that used to get that was like the golden hour lens. That's the only time I'd ever pull it out. Even for a long time didn't I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but Ross Harvey he kept a Canon with a 50mm 1.2 in his bag just to get that. Yeah,
or was it the 85 1.2? I can't remember.
No, the 50. I'm sure it's 50.
Yeah, I miss flare, and I miss being able to. I miss the way those lenses like coped with backlight. So
She was some tissue, like
I know,
got a tear to wipe away.
Yeah, maybe. But at this price tag, like if I was to buy because that's the other thing. The EOS R5 is rumored to be $3,500.
Yeah, and so you'd need 2 of them.
Yeah,
So that's $7,000. Because
Yeah.
like for me, I only shoot with the same 2 cameras because
same.
there was no way I would shoot with 2 different cameras. I think I got that from Zacharias. Like, I think I was when I first started, he was saying something about like, just always make sure you have the same 2 cameras, because if you need to like, go from 35 to 85, you don't want your brain to be going, oh, but you're going from a Canon 5D4 to, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I remember
something.
when I first bought the 5D Mark III, so a long time ago, but I tried to use it alongside a 5D Mark II, and that lasted one wedding, and I realized how frustrating that was, and I bought a second 5D Mark III the next day, and ever since then I've always made sure I've had two identical cameras.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Even for editing, when you had the 5D2 and the 5D3, would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because files are
it was the worst. It was the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. It was practically like shooting Canon and Nikon.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
the
It was.
5D2
No, it was.
Yeah, it was.
The 5D2 was like the pinkest camera ever, and then I mean,
I never bought a 5D2, so
it went straight from classic to Mark III.
Yeah, I went straight from classic to Mark III, because I used a 5D Mark II once, and I was just like, these files are terrible. So I always stay with a classic, and it was working for me. And I guess I wasn't shooting as many weddings, so or I wasn't that busy, so I didn't feel the need to switch at that point.
Yeah, mate. The classic was a beautiful camera as well. I mean, we sound properly old now talking about
The
these.
classic was good though, man. Like, I think that is, as you said, you were the RX, whatever it was your favorite.
Yeah.
5DC is my favorite camera.
Yeah,
and the funniest thing, tangent, but today, like, how on Facebook you have the Facebook memories come up. On this day today, I was selling my 5D 12.8 megapixel digital SLR black body only. Yeah, for £450 or nearest offer. And the only comment on it is, keep one, man, for the memories and to mess about with. And that was from my brother.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Crazy. And you didn't listen?
No, I didn't listen.
But that's the thing. So let's go back to it, right? So the body's going to be $3,500. And even if you think, if you're going to buy grey import, you're talking 2.5 maybe. Yeah. So you need 2 of those, $5,000. You need an 85. Realistically, you need this 85, this $3,000.
If we're going to shoot how we're shooting, 35 and 85.
Yeah, I'm talking just like for like. I mean, there's a whole other debate to be had of whether, now with mirrorless, whether you need fast primes or anything, whatever.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk more about the specs in a minute. But so you need a 85, so $3,000 on the 85, maybe a bit less on grey import again. Let's say 2. So already you're up to 7. And then you need a 35. So there's that cheap 35 there, which I mentioned, which is the 1.8, £500. Or let's see if there's there's bound to be a more expensive version. And you and me both prefer expensive versions.
Yeah, I was going to say, has one got the red ring on it? Because if one does. There's £2,229.
Oh, I can't see that. Oh, on Wex.
Oh no, actually, you know what? It's not. That's a 15 to 35.
Yeah, I can't see a 35mm prime. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's the only 35mm prime for it. All right, so there you go, £500. So what are we up to? $8,000.
Yeah,
just for the basic system.
Yeah, and buying grey import, and based on Rahul and Adam's pricing guesses.
Yeah, we're definitely right there.
Really could be about $10,000.
So yeah, but I mean, so it's what we're saying is it's not going to be cheap. You're going to be going back to bigger cameras. I'd need a new camera bag because I haven't got a bag that can fit big cameras in it anymore. It's not a massive thing, but it would be a total, like, it would you'd have to rethink everything again.
Yeah. Oh, luckily I go to the gym, so be able to carry the cameras.
Yeah, that's weight's the other thing as well, because what I've enjoyed is that I can pack almost my entire camera gear in a backpack that is under the limits of hand luggage weight for most aircraft now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the Sonys. So it is a thing, especially if you're traveling, the whole weight side of it. Because you know what I'm going to find out? I'm going to find out how much this 85mm weighs. You can make your other point while I'm looking at that.
No, I was my other point was basically going to be, I mean, I guess if you're shooting photo and you shoot video, then the fact that it shoots in 8K is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So essentially, I guess you could just shoot video and then just rip the stills that you want. Scary for us, but
Yeah, that's the thing though. That is the only like getting serious about it. But you know what? Let me just talk about the weight of this lens first before we talk about that, because that 85mm is 1.2 kilos, the lens only.
wow.
Compared to the one that we use, the 85mm Zeiss Batis, right?
Yeah.
For the Sony, which weighs 475 grams. So it's almost 2.5 times the weight of this one. So, and the body is the body's slightly bigger and slightly heavier as well. So I think it's a big thing for a wedding photographer. You know, when we're carrying these things around for 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day on your shoulders or on your hips or wherever you use, whatever kind of strap system you use or whatever it might be. The difference between carrying an extra 2 to 4 kilos if you're carrying 2 cameras, it's massive.
Yes, big deal.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go back to the specs. But I bet those lenses are nice. I bet those lenses are very nice. That's the thing. Like, and there's definitely, you know, that I don't miss the tones as much. Like, I remember at first it took me a while to get my editing right on the Sony to a point where I liked it, and now I like my images more than I liked my tones from the Canons. So it's not that I miss the tones as much. It's more that I miss their ability to cope with extreme conditions, like especially extreme backlight.
Yeah, they were great cameras. Or they still are great cameras, you know.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Talk about how they were back in the days. The RF, yeah.
All right, I'm going to read down the specs. Right, so we talked about 45 megapixel, which is too much realistically for a wedding.
I mean, you'd shoot M RAW, right? Like, they do that.
I mean, they do.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if I was going to have this camera, I'd be shooting in M RAW.
Yeah, no, same. So you're talking humongous files, big memory cards, more hard drives, everything. But I mean, storage is cheap, so I'm not saying that's going to be a massive. It wouldn't be a showstopper. That's what I'm saying.
No, definitely not.
The IBIS, so the what does that stand for? In body image stabilization. 5 stops in the body, 5 stops in the body, and then if you combine it with a lens that's also got stabilization, 8 stops of that is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
In a good way. That's mind-blowingly. I mean, that means you could technically shoot like a 400mm lens at like a 60th of a second and not get any shake.
Yeah, or without a monopod. I've seen people when they used to use the 7200 with a monopod, you know, so that's why.
That is crazy, though. That's crazy. But that's the way the industry's going. So it's not like, I mean, this is going to be the best in class.
It's the way technology is going, you know. So
yeah.
It's good. Yeah. It's good for us.
All right. Next one is 12 frames per second mechanical shutter and 20 frames a second electronic shutter. I mean, I think the A7 III is I think it's 10 frames a second maximum in mechanical, and I think it is 20. I think it is 20 frames a second in silent shutter. But that's pretty good. I mean, like we said before, we never read specs. I feel like we're trying to come across as people who understand the specs. It doesn't really matter whether it's just 12, 10, 8, 13, 17, whatever. Is it fast or is it slow? That's what we care about. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a bit too much. Like, I find the Sony A7 III like in silent. Man, when I shoot in a ceremony, I'm like, oh, it's just like, oh, I've just taken. It's suddenly, okay. My camera never says buffering unless I'm shooting in silent mode, and I'm only shooting in silent mode ever. In the civil ceremony, so like the normal wedding, not during an Indian wedding, but during a civil wedding where nothing really happens and my camera still go to it's buffering. I'm like, how many frames did it just take? I don't understand. How I'm on 64 and I'm like, they're about to kiss any second. Can you stop buffering? It's a nightmare. I'm just like, I can't shoot this on an 85 or, you know, like my other camera. This is just saying buffering. I start sweating. My armpits are dripping. I'm like, oh my God, like, why is this happening to me? Why? I wish I could have just had the sound on that, because I never shoot that much otherwise. You know, imagine coming back to, like, you're shooting a whole day on silent. Like, the amount of self-control you'd have to have on, like, just with that trigger finger. Like, I'd come back with like 512 gig per camera.
Me too. I think Andy shoots most of the day on silent now. So I think he's coming back with a lot of frames. But I think shooting on silent on the Sony's taught me to be a bit less trigger happy for that reason.
I don't even think I'm that trigger. That's what I mean. I'm doing.
I know what you mean. Yeah. But it's because you can't hear anything, so you don't really know.
Yeah, and things so fast as well. It's too quick.
It's the worst when you get to color in photo mechanic as well. It makes you feel like an idiot.
Yeah. You're like, why have I got this same photo like 35,000 times?
Yeah, I mean, next one is dual card slots. So at least nobody's going to moan about that, and there's not going to be any like memes about the single card slot thing. So, but
it is a big thing, like just having a single card slot. I mean, when you've been used to so long shooting on dual cards, to go back to like one card, like it'll be like for me, I don't know, like I've had house insurance all my life or car insurance, and then from next year it's just like, you know what, you don't need car insurance. I'd be like, I'm pretty sure I do. I'm not going to buy this car if you can't give me car insurance. So I'm going to have to go with the car that gives me car insurance.
It's like, the car insurance is the best analogy you've ever come out with. I remember when I had my first car, I had third-party fire and theft only. To me, that's one card slot.
That is one card slot.
Third-party fire. You crash your car, you get the other person gets a new car, you don't get a new car. That's one card slot.
Yeah,
that's it. That is the best analogy you've ever come out with. It's brilliant. But the next two things, I think I've never used an EOS R. I think these next two things are just improvements over the current EOS R. So one is scroll wheel added to the back, one is no touch bar. So I've heard people moan about those two things. So I'm guessing they're just improvements over the current EOS R.
Yeah.
Then we're talking about video stuff. So the fact it shoots 8K video, and I think it's the first like affordable camera that we're talking about shooting 8K video, right?
Yeah, because I think before that, the only things cameras that could do it were like the Reds, pretty much.
Yeah. So 8K,
but they were never affordable. They're like 15 grand a camera. So,
but like you were starting to allude to before, it's not obviously I never shoot video, but a screenshot of an 8K video is a bigger image file, is a wider image file in pixel terms than the images we're getting out of the Sony A7 III as photos. Wow. So that it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad.
So the question would be, is that going to be a risk to photography and photographers in the long term if people are taking extremely high resolution able to take extremely high resolution screenshots of a video at 8K?
It is a bit of a worry, but then at the same time, it's just like most videographers that I know obviously shoot like a really flat profile. So if they're going to take a screenshot or like, rip an image, then I'm going to assume that they've shot it really flat. So with a flat screen grab, like JPEG, there's only so much you could edit it. Do you know what I mean? So probably we're safe for now, I would say, until the fact that you can edit those files or something. Like if that was ever to happen, then I'd be like super worried. Or then I'd go and buy the Canon EOS R5 and just film all day and get like, the bits that I need and provide video. So videographers, watch out.
Yeah, that's the one. But so what you're saying is, you're not going to get a raw file out of it. Basically, the best you're going to get is a flat JPEG, and then you're going to be limited to the editing you're able to do on a JPEG.
Yeah, and like I say, unless you're good and you adjust the. But I don't know many videographers that do this, like adjust like color profiles and everything and stuff to match the scene. Then maybe I'd be worried about that guy. But most people and most true, like, well, not true, I wouldn't say that, but like most videographers that I know, literally only shoot flat, so then they can grade it to their look. So if I did have the this EOS R5, and maybe like I would experiment a second shoot for someone. I might even try out with like speeches or something, because I could light them with video lights. Then maybe like and then I would use probably the same profile that I use for my photos, but just use it for the video, right? And get a white balance and everything bang on. And then I could deliver them the speeches plus some stills. Because like essentially, if it was a 10-minute speech, you know, I'm only giving them like, well, 2 images of the speaker, unless he's doing something. Do you know what I mean? So I could easily rip that out and give them 2 JPEGs, and I can't see a client being like, oh, why do these look different from the rest, you know? And also, like, I don't do video, but I mean, what about like focusing? You'd have to like be continuously making sure it's all sharp, right?
Yeah, true.
Like with them moving around or whatever, or even
I bet that's super easy though, just like it is on the Sonys. You know, like to tap the screen on the thing you want it to be focusing on.
Yeah, but what about like, okay, confetti if they're moving towards you and stuff like that?
Yeah, true. I bet the tracking's insane though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to me, it just the specs make it seem like it's a sports camera with those specs, really, sports or studio even. But one thing here that's mentioned actually,
I would have said wildlife.
Yeah,
like especially if you're coming out with that many megapixels. But
yeah, true.
You know,
yeah,
and you can video.
True, and it's even mentioned in here that there will be automatic upload of images to the cloud. And obviously, that was going to rely heavily on Wi-Fi connection because it has built-in 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. But that's interesting though. Like, I mean, it would never work at a wedding. It's never gonna. It's not gonna upload. It's never gonna keep up with shooting that many 45 megapixel RAW files.
No, that's just for fashion and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah. In a studio in a controlled environment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what's your general conclusion on the EOS R5?
It looks like a nice camera. Like I've been on the Canon website just scrolling up and down on it, you know.
Yeah, same.
Like they've made it look good, and I do miss that red. I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
But yeah, I think just like the cost and everything is just too much. It's the same reason why people are like, why don't you just move to the A9? But you know, I feel like the A9 is got too much underneath the hood for me. You know, like it's a nice camera to have, but I don't think it's worth that much additional expense. Like I managed totally fine with the A7 III. And I know, like, obviously, silent shutter is the main thing, but like I said, I barely shoot silent shutter, so it's not a deal breaker to have the A7 III over the A9, I guess. And so, even with this Canon EOS R5, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really change. You know, I'd like to know actually. They've got a 2470 though, and something like that, right? Like, is that just a 2.8? Then do you know?
I feel like there's a 28. Oh yeah, 2470 2.8. Yeah,
70.
2300.
Oh right. I thought I was gonna say if that was like a F2 or something, then that might be.
Oh, that'd be good. Wasn't there like a 28 to 70 F2 that was humongous?
Oh,
I feel like I've seen.
That's what I mean.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, 28 to 70 F2, $3,000.
Wow.
But it is massive. Like, let me tell you the weight of that one. It's 1.4 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's huge. I remember seeing it.
The entire kit that I carry.
Yeah. It's 14 centimeters long as well. That's big. That's big. That's a big fat lens because it's really wide as well. It's 10 centimeters wide.
But you know what? Potentially, I mean, with a 28 to 75, was it, or whatever? You could shoot the whole wedding.
Oh yeah, you could.
F2, just one camera.
True.
You'll be golden.
Yeah, that's the thing. But for me, same as you, there's not enough. Like I remember when I switched from the 5D Mark III to the Sony, it was a no-brainer. Like there was so much about the what I was gaining by switching over. I know it's less for you when switching from the Mark IV, but from the Mark III to the Sony, no-brainer. It's definitely not a no. I'm definitely not looking at this going, oh, I need everything this camera has. It's going to be mainly the same kind of camera, probably with better lenses, and it's going to weigh a lot more and be a lot bigger. So same for me. It's a no from me. But nice camera.
Yeah, exactly. If I was rich enough, I'd have it as a personal camera.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even sure I'd do that. But I do like it. And who knows in the future?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Nice.
Could convert to Fuji.
Yeah, who knows? One day, dude. Who knows? Never say never. Never say never. Anyway, good to chat to you about technical geekery.
Oh, yeah, we were well tech and well geeky on that, I must say.
See you, dude.
See you, man.
1, 2, 3. Listen.
You can listen to previous episodes of the DotCast anywhere people normally listen to podcasts, and you can find out more about NineDots membership and the NineDots gathering at nine-dots.co.